G'day and welcome. So this video is the third on the little Morris engine, or Austin or Wolseley. I think it's a Wolseley engine, I think. And we were supposed to be starting in this one, and I didn't. But the reason for that is because I had a whole lot of stuff plated. It's cheaper when you take a load of stuff to get plated at the same time, not one string at a time. And I took 11 strings in of stuff. There were 3 gold, I think 8 silver. And it was this thing, the distributor clamp. That was the bit that I sort of put in there. It was all gunky and horrible. I thought, you know what, the heck with that. I'll get them all. And you get them back like new. I couldn't be bothered tying it onto a silver string, so I actually got it done in gold. So I've got 2 of them, one for the 1600. All the 1600 stuff's here, except the block. That's still at the machine shop. So this engine, runs or not, doesn't matter. It's great garage art, and it'll sit on a bench. I've got to make another bench here. To give me a little bit more room, so it'd be great to have that sort of sitting there anyway. So there's a lot on distributor, alternator. We clean the block up, we paint it, we changed the sump pan over too, and the sump that came back from the 1600 was full of holes, and when he blasted it, so I've taken this one off. I'll get him to blast that back. If you're interested in hydroblasting, don't get it done before the 11th of January because he won't be there. And I'm talking about John at Furniture Gully hydroblasting. So that's all done, except the sump, which I'll repair for the 1600. So I've been having fun because it doesn't cost much. It's Christmas. We've been in a COVID year, and so it's all good. So I'm sorry it's not going at the moment. I did change plans on the fly, which is what I keep doing. And the reason I do it is stuff crops up. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. Other times a lot happens in the build up to that, which is what was the case with this. We couldn't take it straight out the shed and just stick fuel in it and oil and start it because there was no compression. And now, of course, we've done the cylinder head up in previous videos and we've got all that compression there. And now I've got a carburettor ready, which I've overhauled. It's a carburettor I'm not at all familiar with. It's a Solex. It's a 30 AHG. These seem to be on Morris J vans. The ones that came to Australia, the CKD cars all seem to have Zeniths on them, as far as I know. So when I look these up, they seem to be on the J vans. They're a peculiar looking thing. They're not a particularly attractive carburettor, but it's what we've got. I don't have a Zenith, so I can't use that really nice all bath air cleaner. But anyway, look, I put that on. I need new foam for these. I bought these in 1984 for $14.20 each. I bought 2 of them for the MG I had. And put them on, didn't like them, took them off, put the stock ones back. But we can finally use one now. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Yeah, it started raining. Got the water coming off it's only just started raining. A bounty, of distributors. We've got a few here. I've taken a screw out. That's a 4-cylinder one. It's got the points, which look pretty dirty. There's no wire going to there, and no capacitor. Sorry about the snort. There's another 4-cylinder one. That's fairly clean. That looks pretty good. There's nothing in it though. These 2 6-cylinder ones are no good, obviously, because they're for a 6-cylinder. But we do have a condenser there. So I've got to try and make something. I'm not sure of the condition. The more I look at this stuff, the more I sort of decide, well, you know what, I'm going to use a new one in the 1600 and just cobble something together for this little 1500. It's time to get some stuff cleaned. I never clean stuff here. I've been to places people's places where they've got cars, or at least parts, and the whole of the yard is just oil encrusted clay. There's no grass, no weeds, nothing. I don't clean stuff like this here. For a couple of reasons. One, it's labour intensive and I don't like doing it, but more because it's environmentally bad. So I'd take it to a guy to get him to clean it. Is that going to come out? And it always comes back looking brand new. So there's lots of oily stuff here. There's the backplate for the 1600 leaning against the bluey. So I'm going to take this it costs money. So, you know, the other thing is also that looks like asbestos. So I'm going to go and get that done, and we'll have a look at it when it comes back. Yes, hydro blasted kit and flowers, which are fake. Let's have a quick chat about this. And the crows are out. I've elected to hydro blast rather than using a hot tank of the engine builder because the hot tanks are designed to get rid of grease and oil, not paint. And a lot of the stuff had paint on it. And you can see how well it's come up. There's a little bit of pitting on there, but it won't matter. So things like the fans, the pulleys, they'll be edge primed and painted. For the 1600 we'll do it an MG red, so the fan will be yellow. And for the other one we'll use that army green and we'll do the fan red. Rocker covers came out beautifully. Again, there's a bit of pitting on them. MG ones are drilled for rivets. I'm not going to drill these, I don't think. I'll pick the best for the 1600 and the worst for the, what do you call it, 1500. That's an air filter or oil filter case. And we've got the engine back plates there, or end plates, so front and rear. Timing covers a peach on this, and it's one of the rare ones that uses a proper seal. Side covers, of course. So they'll be painted. Moving over, I've also elected, some of this stuff's going to be electroplated. So for example, these are your rocket cover grommet things. I've got a bunch of them there. I'll get them zinc coated in silver. Because there was paint on them, I've hydroblasted them first because the plating process, I think, uses hydrochloric acid as the etch, and again that doesn't get rid of all the paint, it gets rid of the oil. So any of the bolts, there's only a few of them that actually had paint on them, I've had hydroblasted, and it was very, very reasonable to do, very cheap. They're just alternator. There's 3 of those, I only need 2 obviously, the little alternator adjusting thing. These for the starter motor, and the alternator will be gold zinc. And a few other bits and pieces. Then you could probably powder coat some of this stuff, but alternator brackets, fuel pump block off. I've sent a couple of other things there as well. That's a slinger that was filthy, so I just gave it to him and he did it, and that's for the coil as well. These are aluminium. That's for the rocker shaft. And you can just see the detail, it's beautiful. Hydroblasting is great because it's waterborne glass shot, and we'll clean all that out in case there's any glass shot in there. So it doesn't remove metal, it paints it. Now, the sump is a problem because, let's have a look at this guy. Someone's brazed a union there, which is great if you've got a drain for a turbocharger, but we're not doing that. It's such that I can't MIG weld up to that because it's been brazed. So it means either cutting it off and welding a disc into it, or cutting that whole piece out and welding a piece of plate in there. The problem is, look at that. Can we see the holes in it? Yeah, the holes. It's got holes all through it. Bit of a pain. I can see them on this side. I'm going to weld them up. And then I'm going to give it a skim of, what's the stuff called? JB Weld. It's very pretty. I would think that's from being stored on soil or something like that, which has been damp and has been allowed to rust. They normally wouldn't rust like that. But aside from that, it's in very good condition. So I think it's worth saving. You'll normally pay $100 or so for one of those. I reckon I can fix it. And if I can't, I'll just spend $100. Or more. People ask a lot of money for that stuff. So that's why I like to hydroblast. You just get it perfectly clean, not a problem in the world, and it's always going to be better than I can do it. To make a distributor, and well, make a distributor over a whole lot of bits. This looks like the best one, even though I was going to use this one. I've decided on this one. The advanced mechanism looks a lot better. It's very stiff and it locks up there. And I'm going to do this completely wrong and do it badly and all this sort of stuff, but you know, it's what we've got. Beautiful. And you can see it's got all that crap in it. And we can clean this shaft off quite well. The reason I took it off was because there's end float in it. I don't want to fix that up. And clean that out. That's just probably CRC in there. Yeah. It's not overly pleasant. This is where people use ultrasonic cleaners and stuff like that. I've been asked about that, and I just don't want... I mean, I should probably get one, but I find hydroblasting infinitely better, and it's very reasonable, and I don't have to worry about other stuff on my bench. I can just leave it. Alright, in you go. The plastic bush is down there. Yes, it is. That should start to dissipate. That feels a bit better. Right, that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. What I'm not certain about though is... Geez, I've got some junk here, haven't I? There is the gear from it, or the drive dog, which is filthy. I've got to clean that up. The washer, I don't even know if it had one. It might have been missing. I couldn't see it when I pulled it apart. That's the advanced mechanism. This isn't how to work, by the way. Not how to work at all, particularly when you're doing dizzies. It needs to be a lot cleaner. That's the other advance. Rightio, so I've stuck that in. That's pretty good. I've taken another washer, which is dirty, off a 6-cylinder distributor that I'm not using, this one. And this is just, the name of the game is just cobbling something. This is all dirty. Don't have a work area like this, is terrible. Just put a thicker washer in, that actually seems alright. Yes. Perfect. Good. Right. That's splendid. Feels a little bit loose for my liking. I had another one here somewhere. Where's the other pin? Oh, there it is there. That was a bit tighter, that one, so I might just drop this out because I don't think it's tight enough. So there we are. That's the faulty one that was slack. That was tight before, and now I've got this one for our car, which is nice and tight. That goes on top. That goes on top, and then squeezes this like that. And then that goes into that hole there, and then we swing him around, and that's how it goes. And then that inner spigot fits through that aperture there. So that's cool. That's alright. Now we can put it in, because we can. So this now goes in here. It's already got grease on it, so we won't bother putting new grease on. That goes into there. Down there. That slides in, and then that sits over the advance pin, which should move. Let me just try that. Hang on a minute. Sounds a bit raspy, but that's because I'm using a dirty bench. And my work practices suck at doing this. There we go. Let me whack a spring down there. And this nailed nut, which goes that way. Actually, I'm going to have to pull that back to get it in. That little horseshoe clip sits over the end of that. I'll give him a squeeze. So it won't ever come off unless it's asked to. There we go. That's looking pretty darn spiffy. These have been sitting around in this garage for a long time. I don't know which one we're using, but they should both fit. I'll take a measurement. We're looking at 30 millimeters. Spot on. Yep. Spot on. Alright, so it might have been the smaller one. That was a bit stiff to get on. Yep, that's doing what it's supposed to. Hopefully it jumps. So, whoops. That seems to be fine. That's off the MG. Alright, look, that's going to do for now. We can't use that one. That doesn't matter. And we'll do something else. Generators. That's got a nice quiet bearing in it, but someone's flogged out these to fit them onto something they shouldn't be on. I can make a bush for that. Some brass bushes. I'm going to keep both of these generators because I've got the two engines. This one's noisy when you turn it back, but that's counter-rotating on the engine. Yes, the engine goes that way, so that's alright. I'm just going to pop those pulleys off, or the fans, the cooling fans, and that can go in a bucket full of plating. Where did I put the socket? I took the retention spring off this because it was jamming, and now everything falls off. should just flick off. There might be a taper on it though. In fact, I think there is a taper on it, but I don't want to damage that fan. So I'll just muck around with that. Is that one going to come off easily? No. Right, well, I've sort of impacted the whole side of that screw off. I'm just taking it off now. That bush or bearing, whatever it is at the front, seems to be jammed. And yeah, look, it's probably stuffed as well, this thing. I want to get that off there. So far so good. And that landed on my foot, which bloody hurt. Right. And then that'll come off. But that's connected to the wiring inside. The brushes look good. That's a great design. Everything stays in there. Which means black spray can for an eBay overhaul and a silver paint job for this, because I am not getting it clean professionally. That actually looks really good. There's nothing wrong with that. And now the bearing at the front feels alright. What the hell? Now that does look a bit burned, but as I said in the previous video, you can turn these down on a lathe, but that's not worth turning down because it appears to be pretty good. Do you want to see something absolutely pathetic? Plating. I think there's 8 strings. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then there's that one there, 8. All silver for this one. There's the 1600 and 1500, most of it there. And we've got some stuff in gold as well. Generator, fans, and only one pulley, the other one's aluminium. But yep, some other stuff as well. And we'll do this one in gold, as we said, and that one in silver. I found another generator, and I didn't know I had it, so I've got 3 of them. This has all green starlet dust on it. Now I sent all the plating off today, but I'm going to drop in tomorrow and see if I can get this stuff done too. A Welshie removal. I call it Welsh plugs, and call them core plugs or freeze plugs, depending on where you're from. These two here, well, this one had a hole in it. This one was very, very thin. I noticed when I tapped it with a screwdriver, it just went straight through. They're kind of like a coin. Now, the center one was hard to get out because someone's already been there and put a brass one in, so I probably could have just left that if I'd known. Behind here, just to build up right up to the level of the plug of silt inside the block, which is the reason they've corroded. They're kind of sacrificial, these things. When you put a brass one in, it won't rust, but everything else will. So we've got to take the back one out. I'm not all that familiar with these. Yeah, that's gone through. And you can kind of just pop them out. Now, that's knackered as well. It was far too easy to break through. But look at this silt. Look at that. Now, with these all removed, that'll rust anything out. Got to clean that surface up there. The Plymouth engine, the Poly V8 has these too, these types. So I'm just going to put an air nozzle in there and just blow out as much as I can before I replace them. But that's that's an engine out gig if this engine was to be in a car and it started leaking. Right, well I've got this generator. I'm trying to make a good generator out of the two. You can see the commutator there is pretty grotty. I've got it in a cordless drill. I just clean it up a bit like that. It's beautiful. Right, that's missing the thing on it. Just a minute. One of them was missing the washer. I'll go and get the other one. Just a moment. Just using the fitting I used for the motorbike Speedo. A bit of plastic on because these are still not fully dry yet. That's got the washer on the back. All the measurements are correct. Right, there's a little nipple, just over there, which goes into the housing. I'm just going to go and get that now. I'll lower this over. This is just a quick spruce up. There's nothing particularly special about what I've done. Now there's a few bits I've got. Some of these have been drilled out. Unfortunately, this has 2, but I'm using a different back plate. That's got good brushes in it. The ones that came out of the other one are really worn down. If you compare that with that. Now that's a 6-cylinder generator here, and the bearings absolutely shot. So I'm not using that or the housing that went with it. I've just got to make sure when I do this that I've got to go and get the rear housing just a moment, and then we've got the bush there. Commutator's clean. I'll just go over that with a bit of thinner or Prepsol to really clean it up. Rear housing. There's two different types. There's one for a round post that comes through, another for a flat terminal. This is the one that had good bushes in it, or brushes in it. I'm just going to throw a pencil in there, and that will hold them back where I need them to be. We'll do the same on the other side. I've got another pencil. I don't know if I've got another one here. Hang on, pen will do. And that should just slide over. Just like that. That one I could probably use something a bit thicker, just to hold it back a bit further. And then, you know, when you get it on, you just release it. There we go. Perfect. I'm just going to wash that down, lubricate this. It's a sintered bush, sintered bronze bush, which means we put oil on it, not grease. There's a little nipple there again, which coincides with that. And this is just rattle can together. And that should just sit down in freaking there, which it kind of does. Right, now screws. Where are the screws? Some of these will fit, some of them won't, because there's two different lengths or three different lengths of them. What have we got? One of them was busted, so it'll be these ones. That'll go in. Some of this is pitted. It looks like it's dirty, but it's actually not. It's pitted, so I can't do too much about that. But it'll look alright. Right. Cool. I'm just not sure. Some of them are bigger. That's a much bigger one. I don't know why that's so big. Still, I'm going to dig it. It looks good. I think it's hitting some of them. There's a couple of different pulleys. I think they're the same size. No, they're different. They're the same height. So I've been busy. I've stopped for a tea break, went inside. Been cleaning this thing up. It doesn't look bad. Although I've drained the oil out and decided I'm going to remove the sump and change it over for the other one that I've prepared. It's alright. It's not going to set the world on fire, this thing, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'll keep cleaning, it's not there yet. Sort of around the back in these sorts of areas. See there's a big dirty smudge, got to get rid of that. Down there, that sort of thing, and sort of around the front as well. I've got everything back from plating and it shouldn't be too bad. There's also a bit of gunk around there behind the oil filter. I'm not going to take that off, I'm just going to paint it on there. But it's getting there. Oh, gee whiz, we're nearly ready for a bit of paint. I'm just trying to get rid of some of this scaly stuff inside. There's quite a lot of it. On the Sigma, I actually had it on a stand on its side and I got rid of a heap of it. The coat. Oh, sorry, I'm doing a clean, messed it up. I'm going to use some of my BMC green, my army mix, and try a bit of paint on it. It's quite thin. I've reduced it a fair bit, and if it doesn't cover properly, I'll just remix it. Oh, it looks like it covers quite well. Anyway. I'll do the other side so you can see. This way. Can you see? Hopefully you can see. I'm going to put it on quite thick, right down to the sump. And the reason I'm doing it like that is I want to get it quite thick. Normally I would brush paint and anything in that sort of position, but I'm not going to do it with this. And of course we're doing the sump later. Looking too bad. This was originally that green colour, so it's off Morris of some sort, I would think. That's cast iron, it's not aluminium, and it's got a really weird Solix carburettor. I'm hoping I can get that going. Water pump, don't even know if it's going to leak, but I'm tipping it will. Just cleaning up that at the moment, all the snot in there. The engine looks lovely. Drying off quite well. So we'll get it off here. I've got to let it dry overnight, and then we can start putting bits and pieces in there. And it'll look pretty good. Whether or not it runs very well is a different thing, but it doesn't matter. As I said before, garage art. Right, so there she is. It's touch dry. The rock cover's completely dry, but yeah, it's all pretty good. I learned something very important though. This engine was a bit of a mess, so I cleaned it up with 1 can of super cheap auto degreaser. It's like the reject shop stuff. The reject shop stuff is inclined to froth up. The super cheap one doesn't. Kerosene's another thing you can use. And what I did, normally with this sort of thing, I would degrease it, scrub with the toothbrush and hose it off with some high pressure water, even a very small amount of high pressure water just to get it off. And throw cardboard, sheets, all sorts of things down to catch it so nothing goes down the drains. But with this one I did it completely dry in that I degreased it, scrubbed with the toothbrush, degreased it again, and just wiped over it with thinner once it dried. And there was no water involved, and it's spotless. I have missed a bit down on the front there on either side. I didn't get that, so that's crummy. I painted over a bit of grease there, but yeah, look, it doesn't matter. This is, after all, a polished turd. Right, I'm cooped up behind the XW because I'm sort of going to fit the manifold because I want to lift it via the manifold, if you know what I mean. I can't find my engine lifting chain, which is a pain because I need it. I'll just take this off. And it looks absolutely mint, this thing, but obviously it's an old trashed engine, so we don't know what it's going to do when we try and start it. I keep mentioning that, but it is crossing my mind. And we'll just stick this new stud kit in. You can also see we've got the covers on, tapper covers on, and homemade gaskets out of some old stuff I had from the Galaxy, of all things. Now normally I put a very, very slight smear of Celastic on these, but I'm not going to with this because I'm tipping I'm going to be removing the manifold again. And when I go to put the 1600 on here. And it looks nice and swish, but as we said, I mean, this really is a polished, well, turd. The other thing is, I've machined these from scraps of brass. These studs are awfully long. I wonder if they're the right ones or I've got them the wrong way. I don't know. So, they will do. I bought some proper ones for the 1600. Is that my stomach? Alright. Okie dokie. Just tighten them up a bit and we're good. That colour, there was a bit on this. This was actually off of Morris. And the colour that we've got, I reckon, is nigh on spot on, which is more sort of arse than class, really. It's accidental, but it's infinitely better than the colour we begun with. Oops. This is the port for the brake booster, which we don't need to put in there because there's no brakes on the engine stand. I'm going to put this old brass vacuum takeoff on, and that will be good for a vacuum gauge. We can check what's going on in terms of engine vacuum. And I haven't done that. I didn't even put new tape on it. It's a tapered gas thread. We'll just cap that off for now because we don't need to use it. Right, we're now in a position where we've got to take the pan off. It's not high enough actually. I'm a bit worried about this one because it's sort of rusted. So I'm just going to go around and do them all. Need a long one today. There's one there. Normally I do everything by hand. Not the case it is. You can see it's greasy and horrible. Spin up. There we go. Sumpage. And rather dirty inside. Let's have a bit of a look. How's this looking inside? Is there anything screaming at us? Not really. I've just got to clean like muck off there. That's actually quite easy to do. Let me just see. What are those? You see the bottom of the pistons. Nothing looks like it's ever been replaced in here. And that pickup is pretty grotty too. I'm just going to get a scraper and scrape all that off. Clean the rail and then pop a new sump on. Get a bit of a clean under there and on the rails and all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to brush touch around here. Well, where are we? Around there. The fasteners, I've got all these new 1/4 inch fines, but the original ones come up absolutely great. You can see they've been put on before the engine was painted. That's just the way I like it. I can't stand painted fasteners. It took me a long time to get used to this business. Plugs I won't bother putting in yet. Because I've got the engine lifted up and I stand to sort of break them, so I'm just going to put this pan on and finish it up. I've a hunch, actually, or at least I'm hoping that 1500 sump's better than this because I want to use the best one on the 1600. This was straighter in the bottom, but it wasn't. It just blew holes everywhere, and it took me a while to sort them all out. Where that hole was there was a whole lot of fractures around it. I ended up cutting out a plate that big. And it took me about 6 attempts to, because I'm using a MIG, the best thing to do is to TIG weld stuff like that. I don't know how to do that, I haven't got a TIG welder. And so it took me about 6 attempts with the MIG to stop it leaking. I sat there with water in it for ages until I was satisfied it wasn't going to leak, and then I put JB Weld over it to sort of smooth it over. We're not interested in metal finishing sumps and all that sort of crap. But it did take me a while to stop it leaking because it was blowing out as I went, because the metal's stamped, so it's quite thin in places. And so as I was trying to weld it, it'd blow out, So it was a pain. And I had a look online, and you can pick up one for a couple of $100 or $150 to $200 that looks worse. So there's no point. Anyway, I'm using Permatex here. The stuff, if oil leaks past it, it's because you've trapped a cord or a wire or something under it. It's really, really good to stop leaks. This is a homemade one, gasket, off a template taken off the gasket kit I've got for the other engine. So, I'll grab my spiffy fasteners and stick it in. Once we get them started, it's not such a bad thing, I just started cursing a minute ago, so I've cut it out because I'm thinking you're a bit of a bastard, which I'm still having that thought right now because I've left mother extension in the drill like an idiot. Anyway, it doesn't matter, we'll figure this out. Stay there. I'm going to go around the other side and finish up. Right, I think that looks quite smart. I'll just lower it down. I'm coughing because of the dust. And I'll tighten him up. It's just all sort of sitting there. Really good. I can put the engine crane away and sweet. How cool does this look? I'm happy with that. Tighten up some bolts and we're good to go. Take this horrible rope off, which I don't like hanging from ropes, but as I said, I really can't find my chains anywhere. I put them in a safe spot. Guess what? So I don't know where they are. So, there we go. That looks a picture, doesn't it? I'm proud of that. Awesome. Sweet, the floor and that's much better. How cool does it look? Awesome. That's so cool. Good if it was a generator or something. If I made it a bit longer and put an AC generator on the back. That's probably good use for it. I ordered this clock for the Starley and I've already marked it. I washed it, was pretty dowdy condition. I ended up, it was stained. It sits on top of the dash and I've just hit it with some of this vinyl and fabric spray, which I used on the gear boot, and it yielded a really good result. I'm just going to put it back together. Not having a clue how it goes together. Oh, no, which way is it? Maybe it's this one. Yeah, that looks like it, yep. So I'm just, oops, messing around. That looks right. And this one. Yep, that's cool. It's got these little kind of rubber feet to adjust the time and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't take the screen out of it. I wanted to take it out to clean it. So I ended up just masking it with a piece of paper. That's all I used. So it's a VFD. I'm a sucker for VFDs. That's it there. Beautiful looking kit. Old fashioned LED type display, which isn't LED, it's VFD. And that should just go back in. Sort of like that. So now I've got to see if it works. I drive on a clock, and the thing is, it becomes quite hazardous because that's the blank there where the digital clock fits, or where a new clock fits. I drive around and it's dangerous to actually look at that as you're driving up here. A couple of tools. We've got a big Clive's budger and a bone and a screw stick. The loom should be behind there, at least it is. I know that because I was the one that put this car together. Not working. We'll go for big Clive, eh? Behind is our plug. So we'll plug the clock in and see what happens. And that is a bit of a win. And it dims. You probably can't see it from there. I've actually marked it there, but it doesn't matter. This is a daily hack, so that'll do fine. A watery pump with a homemade gasket and Permatex. I'm just going to put it in temporarily, if that makes any sense, because we have to use a sealer on it because these holes, I'm having trouble getting this in, because the holes aren't blowing, they actually go through into the water jackets. So I'm just going to start by popping this in. I haven't done this gasket terribly well, and I'm sort of stretching it out. Alright, so I've got the bolts in. I'm just going to pop the pump where it's meant to go. Start the bolts. I can see where the hell I'm going. Now, I'm just going to have to tighten it. And I'm going to tighten him up, and then I'm going to back him out and put the sealer on. Now I've sort of done, I think that's a blind hole. It doesn't matter much. I'm just going to take this out again. I just wanted to keep the gasket in place. It is a homemade one, and I didn't do the best job I probably could have done with it. I'm going to be using this stuff. It's GM Sealer. I love the stuff. I don't know what's going to happen now that General Motors have sort of pulled out of Australia, or Holden's finished, but I would gladly get another jar of this. Oof, it stinks. It's like a treacle type consistency, and it's not a thread lock, it's a thread sealer. So we just throw a bit in there, just like that on the end of the thread, twirl him around. It's very chewy, very elastic. That's how it comes. And I use it on Welsh plugs. And when I was at Ford, we used to use Stag. I reckon this stuff's infinitely better than Stag. But that's just my opinion. A lot of people like the old Stag. Anyway, so I'm just going to put them in one by one, tighten them up. And then our water pump's on. Now before I put too much more on, I've got to get these Welshies in. I've never done those types of Welsh plugs. I've just got to scrape all the paint. You can see I've started in there. But these are just the reused fasteners, BMC ones, you can see there. No reason, just saves me buying them. The 1/4 inch one's fine that I bought for the Wolseley, the 2480, nearly 10 years ago. And I've still got masses of those, and some 5/16 fine, shorter ones. So I've sort of just using up old stock, and that's all this whole thing is. It's just a whole lot of old stock. The place we've got to use it is on these studs. Some of these are blind, that's blind. I don't know about these two though. Another thing to note about the GM sealer is it dissolves paint. This might be going off a bit, this stuff actually, because it is a little bit too treacly, more so than it normally is, but it will still work. Now that paint around there is going to be affected. Now this can, I bought probably 20 years ago, and it was $40. It's not cheap stuff, but as I said, I actually believe it to be the best, so it doesn't faze me at all. It's very cheap when you consider some of the other sealers. Like I've never had a Welsh plug leak with GM sealer, but I've seen lots leak with Stag, and there are people that are sort of faithful to those products, but I'm not one of them. Right, gotta move stuff out the way. We've got a cork thermostat gasket. I've never seen that before, but we've got to get the corjo out. I don't know what corjo means, probably just kettle. That's what it is, it's a camping kettle. And my mother-in-law was throwing it out. And I'm going to use it to check our thermostat. Now the thermostat I've got is the old one, just wiped it off. Drilled a small hole in it, 2mm hole, which is good for bleeding systems. Just want to make sure it's working, because I'm trying to skimp out. You would never normally reuse the thermostat, but I'm going to. Our little corjo has boiled. Just unplug him. It's a ripper little kettle. It's probably a brand for the European brand for something. I don't know. We'll use these approved corjo cups. Pour some water, and we'll pop that in. Where's my pliers? These are the Shonica pliers. Let's just see if this thing opens. I can see bubbles. It looks like it's opening. Just a minute. Is it opening? Doesn't seem to be. I spoke too soon. It's opening. It's taking a while though. Alright, I'm going to drain this out. Yeah, that opens. Yep, we're good. Anyway, that's going back in. Right, so now we're looking at having a look at the Welsh plugs down there. I've just got to clean out where that paint is in there. I'm an idiot because I wanted to see if they fitted, and I stuck that one there, and now I can't get it out. Well, best not to follow my lead on this one because I've no idea what I'm doing. Normally I would look at a YouTube video or read up, but I'm not going to bother. This sealer has gone off. It's buggered. So it should still seal alright, but this is probably the last application I'll get out of it before I have to buy some new stuff. Look at it, it's all sort of gross, but it'll stay there. Might give it a bit more, right, and I'm just also going to stick some around the plug itself, which is here, and I'm just going to run it around the perimeter. Yeah, this is knackered, this stuff. Damn, obviously didn't seal it properly when I put the lid on last time. I'm normally pretty good like that, but you know, I've had it a long time. Okay, and we're just stuck to me. Just going to offer it up, pop it in the hole, and give it a spank. Hang on a minute. Now, if I'm wrong doing that, please tell me, because I don't know. I've never done them. So, now that's out of the way, I will put the lid on properly and move to something else. Using factory BMC bolts. These ones I had left over from the other car I did years and years ago. And they sit in jars, and when I need them, which isn't very frequently, I get them out. I'm just going to do that up, but leave it kind of loose at the same time, just so that can slide, because they're sort of small slots, so they can sort of slide until you get the dynamo or generator, whatever you want to call it, in the spot you want it. Use a longer extension next time, idiot. And we're going to get that and see how that goes. I've got this generator here. That was the one with the big hole in the front that someone had knocked out. I always making up spaces and turning stuff on lathes. That's out of a box. I keep all of them, and it's sort of a really snug fit, so that will do. And then we hopefully we'll just stick that on. And have I got another bolt? Damn it, I forgot the other bolt. Hang on. Just put that there. Oh, I've got that the wrong way. Hang on a second, I've done something wrong here. I've got that in wrong. That has to go the other way because the thread's longer. I'll try that. Take two, hey? With our spacer. And then that should go over there, which it does. Beautiful. And then we've got a bolt that goes in here. And it's gold. So that's not as good. But that will sit there. And I can just use a flat washer, a spring washer, and a nut for adjusting the belt. Which I can't even see what I'm doing. I'm just going to feel my way around. Yeah, that feels like it there. Sweet. Okay, that's good. And then we'll just put a lock washer and a nut there. The colour's going to annoy me. It'll challenge my ADD. We'll put a nice BMC one in. I'm keeping the best of the stuff for the other engine though. It's just better. Or it will be better. That's great. That's how it's supposed to be. Right. Okay. Let's go get some stuff. And we probably should have done them yellow, but I thought the Morris stuff was red. Doesn't matter. I'll do yellow on the other engine. And these fan blades are pretty well pitted, but again, it's the worst fan on the worst engine. Do you reckon this will bother me, that rusty bit in the middle? No, of course not. It'll be covered up anyway by a radiator. Bearing feels good. But it's not the bearing I'm worried about, it's the seal. Might be better to take that bar off the top. Here's an old belt from the MG. I change hoses and belts every now and then. I was pretty slack with that car though, because I didn't change things when I should have, and the fuel arm was all rotted. Let's see if this fits. The pulley seems to be lined up quite well, which is good. Ew. Ew. That's not very good. What about if I go around the generator first? Fuck me. Oh, it went on. And we'll just pull that out. I've just got that thing in the way. I don't want to put too much duress on it because obviously it's an old water pump and an old generator. She'll be right. Well, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going inside. And it's come up quite well. Now, rock cover's not on yet. The little pins that, if you can see in there, this thing won't tighten up. Now, what I can do with that is use these nails. And the same thing's happened with this. They must have been hydroblasted off in terms of, do you know what I mean? So what I can do is I can weld those to the edge, then cut them off to give me the pin length I need, if you know what I mean. It just means I might have to repaint the other cover as well. But there's not much I can do about that. But I'm really pleased with how this is looking. It's looking far better than it is. You know, I keep making fun of it, calling it a turd and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, we've done a lot of work to it. Whether or not it's worth it sort of remains to be seen. I don't think it really matters much. As I said, it's just garage art. Now, things like those, that silver there's high temperatures, it shouldn't come off. That's hydroblasted. Most of the stuff on it is hydroblasted. Just to make it look a bit nicer and a bit fresher. But certainly, if it turns out to be a lumpy, bumpy, smoke-blowing thing, it'll wind up on a bench here just looking good. The best part about it, though, is it's just purely an exercise in why should we do this? Because we can. The coil that came on this was a dirty old Bosch. I put a dirty old Lucas on it. That was on my MG when I bought it, and I kind of dig those stickers, so that's the reason I did that. But the fittings on it are beautiful. I mean, even when you go in there and look at that little wedge-shaped thing, just to hold the screw straight, it's lovely. I've painted over the tab because it was seized. I haven't worried about that. We've got the new Welshies in, of course, and we've also got that thing to go in there. That's the reason I didn't start it in this video, because that was at the platers, which I think I mentioned at the start anyway. So anyway, look, that's it. That's all I'm doing for now. But that's all done. I didn't film it. You know, everyone does carburettor videos, and I'm sick and tired of it. But that's ready to go on too. It's rather clean and rather nice in there, so that can go on. It's not an SU. I would have preferred an SU, but you know what? We're using junk. Anyway, on that note, I'll say thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Shit. Jesus.